What is up YouTube, Crafty Diabetic here, and in this video we're gonna make some more art, obviously, but extra dangerous, because I get to change the possibility of painting and ruining a shirt with the possibility of burning myself. You know, just gotta make the videos top quality entertainment, which means having some sort of a bit of a risk factor. Then I can show off the two burning types of tips, I guess, that I'm going to use for my project, and with both of them tested, I can start working on them. Now I can start working on the first of two islands, which eventually will lead to something a bit cliche, which is just a couple mountains with some islands and some water. Even though obviously it's a wood burner, so it's a little bit hard to tell, but then I can start building the trees, sort of. This wood burner wasn't very powerful, so I was incredibly impatient and the machine was incredibly slow, which is kind of why it looks more like abstract art. Now I can try and do some shadows to make it look like 3D-ish, even though that also doesn't work very well. But as you guys can obviously see, I was very persistent, and then I can make a second tree because I got tired of doing that because my hand was starting to hurt, so I wanted to do something else before then getting judged by my work from my cat, which personally I want to say she liked it because she hung around for a bit. This still made me really nervous because she doesn't know that this thing is hot and could burn her. But it's okay because she was out of the way. Now, out of my ramble, I can start working on the tree a bit more and the trunk, and then start that highlighting shadow thing a little bit more because I'm really trying to make it work. Now, because I was bored with the shadows again, I decided to try something else, which is making a little line which will eventually be the water. Obviously, it's wood burnt, so you can't really tell, but it's more the implication of water. Then, after I correct it and try and make it a little bit more even, along with the islands, I can make the mountains outlined, sort of, but I'll have to go back a bunch because they're nearly impossible to see in video. Now that they're a little bit easier to see, I can start making the lines even thicker and building it up on all the sides so it's even, but then I can eventually start building up some shadows, which will make these mountains look a little bit less not real, I guess. But as you can see, that obviously didn't work, so off camera I had to switch out the tip for the wider one, thinking that it would work slightly better with the mountains to make the shadows, but I don't really think it did, or it didn't do as much as I was hoping. But I'm also just hoping that since it's more the implication of trying, and that you hope guys can hopefully see what I was at least trying to do, because I'm trying to be a little bit more patient with some parts to get extra lines, and then I can do all of that on all three of the mountains to make them look relatively similar, and so it kind of ties them all together, even though on the biggest mountain it kind of hides the tree a little bit, but that's okay because it's mine, so I don't know. Then I can continue going ham on the mountains with all the lines and scratches, and then I can patch up the trees a little bit to try and give them some more shadows, even though I only stopped that briefly, and then I went back to finishing the other mountain. And I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but anytime that my hand position switches, I'm trying to make my hand less uncomfortable, because like I said at the start of the video, this process takes so long, my hand and arm start getting a little bit uncomfy, so if I change my hand position, it makes it less painful for like a little bit, before then I have to change it again, because it's also just really awkward and it's annoying to work with. But I will try to avoid it anyway, because I want to finish this piece, and I'm not liking it, but considering it's my first time wood burning, I think it's okay. To make the mountains seem like they're all at different distances from each other, I can try and shadow in a little bit around the mountain sides because I want them to have a little bit of extra detail and look a little bit more 3D. Even though this is janky, then what I can do is I can carve some lines, then I can carve some lines into the quote-unquote water to make it seem like there would be reflections from a future sun. But I'm going to add that later because I'm going to have to correct some of the lines because they're not very noticeable, as well as the mountain lines, because I want to make sure that they're extra noticeable so that they look better, I guess. Then I can go back and refix the lines like I just mentioned, and then eventually I can add a sun so that it'll make sense, and then I can add some extra detail to that sun to hopefully make it look a bit more realistic. Then, which said detail is a bunch of rays, and once I get the sun carved out, I can mark out those rays in a roughly uneven manner before my hand gets in the way. Then I can clean them up some and add some birds before confusing myself with what I'm going to do. Then I can try and do the shadows one more time, even though they're barely noticeable. And now I have finished my wood carving project. And I think it's pretty cool, but I could definitely improve. So thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe.